Hi everyone and welcome to the All Things ITSM Global Podcast. I'm Kirsty McGowan. I'm here with Carlos Casanova.
Hello, Kirsty.
Charlie Betts.
Hi, Kirsty.
And we're talking to David Mainville. And we're coming to you today from Knowledge 16 in Las Vegas.
Well, David, thanks again for coming back. I mean, we've had lots of conversations. It's always good to speak with you. And in the industry, we've all been in this space for a while, and we see a lot of the DevOps, Agile type stuff. So my understanding is that you're kind of eating your own dog food now. So you're actually trying to leverage, trying to leverage the DevOps concepts internally for organizational change and product development and stuff. Tell us about that. That's kind of an interesting tack at it. Where are you doing that?
It's interesting because one of the reasons I got into process in the first place was because I was. When I grew up in the industry, I was really involved with process, right? One of the reasons our company was so successful, and I'm talking about when I worked for a mainframe company back in the day, was because we had excellent process. Right. And that's what really inspired me to get into the whole game of process. Right. I saw that excellent companies have excellent process. So as we were building out our product and we're looking at making ourselves more efficient, more effective, I wanted a framework to use as a standard, if you will, like a flag that people could follow me on. Right. And I looked at various things, and ITIL's fine, and Agile's fine, but DevOps really seemed to fit the bill for me. And I know there's not a lot of new stuff in DevOps. I'm not one of these people that jump on the bandwagon just because there's some new hype. As a fact, if you look at Gartner, head DevOps is at the top of the hype cycle. Mm-hmm. But you know what? If you look at it logically, the fact that it gives you an opportunity to do continuous business development, continuous development of the application, continuous deployment, also continuous monitoring. It's the full cycle. Right. So I thought it was a great way of eliminating waste, improving productivity, and really acting as a catalyst for organizational change.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you've been doing process improvement, process mapping. That's what your product actually is.
That's what the product is, yeah.
I've been watching as the Agile community and then now the DevOps conversation has kind of been encountering the traditional process management approaches, and sometimes there's some interesting discussions that come when a very tight-knit Agile team encounters larger scale enterprise processes, such as you might document in Navvia. Mm-hmm. What are you seeing in the market? I mean, what are you seeing at the customer sites as that encounter plays out? Sure.
Well, first of all, I mean, Agile. One of the mandates is to have small teams that are self-directed. Mm-hmm. Product over documentation, that sort of thing. Yes. But not everything can be done in small teams, first of all. The second thing I've learned is you can't automate without process. You cannot automate what you don't know. Yep. And one of the things is with DevOps, I have an example. I call it the tale of two apps. There's two applications that we use internally in the company to support our own business. We have basically a collaboration tool, and we have a web conferencing tool. Both are claimed to be developed using DevOps Agile standards. Mm-hmm. One is a piece of, I won't say it, but the interface changes all the time. It's always buggy. If you open
it's an adult show.
Oh my God, it's horrible. Spin the wheel and you wonder what you're going to get that day. Right. Is that Agile? Is that what DevOps is trying to achieve? Yes, it's fast. There's a lot of releases, but it's not helping the usability of the product. Whereas the other guys, I mean, they involve us, like from the business. So if you look at the Agile cycle, right, steering, they involve us. What kind of things do you want to see in the application? And they really implement them. They keep us communicated. They monitor how people use the application. Yeah. That thing runs great. Yeah. So that takes process. Mm-hmm. That takes process.
Yeah, when you start developing without actually talking to your customers and finding out how they use things on a day-to-day basis, you're never going to get it right.
Well, that's right. Yeah. Right. Now, and you know what? Who said process had to be bureaucratic and cumbersome anyway?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it never was meant to be that way.
Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. I mean, I was speaking with someone not too long ago, and we were talking about that cycle, and they were like, well, we don't know if we want to make it too formal, because then we might actually have to act on it. So
why would you want to do that?
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I mean, but they were actually, saying it legitimately in terms of we're not sure that we can, so therefore we don't want to make it too formal yet until we know that we can respond to it. So at least they're taking the tact of the acknowledgement, we're not sure if we can actually deliver quickly enough and lose potentially that respect and that trust if we don't. Mm-hmm. So they're actually intentionally slowing it down on their side before they go there. So it's kind of interesting, you've got the opposite, where they're not ready to support you, but they're taking the input and you're kind of questioning, what do you do? Why are you asking for my opinion then?
Right, exactly. And I think, DevOps is a spectrum, right? Gartner talks about bimodal IT. You can have your legacy applications and you can have your centers of innovation, if you will. And you don't have to be all at one end.
Right.
No.
You could be somewhere where it fits for your
Yeah.
company. And I think that's where we are. We're not doing hundreds of deploys a day. We're nowhere near that. But
Don't need it.
we don't need
Yeah.
it. But you know what? I want the 5 or 6 we do to go really,
Yep.
really well.
Yes,
And so do all your
exactly.
clients.
Yes, definitely.
And it does-
Yeah, it's that whole horses for courses, isn't it? You do what suits your business. You don't, just because another business can do 10 deploys a day and do it well, doesn't mean that that's what is right for your business.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to, what is the product vision?
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the interesting discussions I've started to notice this year. With Scrum especially, we've created hundreds of thousands of people who call themselves product owners. But product management and product ownership are very poorly understood.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
And, we've got design thinking, we've got lean UX and CX. But from my perspective, these are way down on that hype cycle. I mean, DevOps is at the top, and we are just starting this conversation. And we had this conversation in previous All Things ITSM.
We
that,
have.
And this is a great direction for the service management
Yeah.
industry to be going in, I think.
I think it's an exciting time for service
Yeah.
management. I believe process fits really well, but you have to understand the process has to be agile, the process
Yes.
has to be lean.
Right.
But you cannot automate. If you want to do continuous deployment and continuous integration, you've got to understand your test scripts. You've got to
Yes.
understand so much about the environment.
Yeah.
And that just doesn't happen over a conversation at the water cooler.
No.
Exactly.
Well, and that's the thing with the automation. You always see everybody, especially obviously, I see the config stuff. Oh, we have to automate the discovery. The automation, the technology is really just accelerating the activity.
Right.
Well, if you don't know what the activity is, if you haven't
Bingo.
defined it,
Yeah.
what are you accelerating?
Yeah.
I spoke to one. I said, and I called them Thelma and Louise. You're heading to the cliff. You just want to go faster. That's okay.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because the
Yeah.
end result is still going to be a failure. So.
But a real simple example, let's say we're doing automated testing, right?
Yep.
So you implement a new feature into the product. Well, you better have an automated test script to test that
Yep.
feature.
Yep.
Well, if the process fails and that doesn't get into the testing group,
Yeah.
and the script is not developed, how are you going to test it?
Right,
And
right.
there's, and that,
So-
again,
and some of it
you
can
gotta
be
coordinate
handled,
that.
through saying, well, this is culture, this is just the way we do work, this is kind of a tacit understanding, but then that doesn't necessarily scale. At some
It
point,
doesn't scale.
Yeah.
when you've got dozens of development teams, or even a couple, as you said, somebody's got to say, hey, are you doing the test, is the test script in there? And where do you get
Yeah,
that
the
level
last
of
thing you want
confidence?
is for your
Yeah.
customer to do the testing and come back to you on the first day. That
Been
didn't
there.
work.
Yeah, that's not usually
Yeah.
intentional, right?
No.
But that gets back to we're talking about we've been around this for a while, and it just seems like there are some products out there that it's no longer the beta test where we used to look at it and say, we'll hold off on general release and we'll
Yeah.
do the beta. There's a lot of alpha products
Yes.
going out there, which bothers me, and I don't think that's the objective of
Yeah.
DevOps and Agile and stuff
Yeah,
like that either.
well,
it's like, oh, we're DevOps, so we're going to put. It's like, no,
Yeah.
it still has to function.
Yeah,
it
it's-
can't break
it should
everything
work.
else.
Well, and Eric Ries really started this with the
Yeah.
whole concept of minimum viable product, and so now the discussion in the industry is what constitutes
Yeah.
minimal,
viability.
like, what's viable. You get the minimal part down.
Yeah.
Where's the
Yeah.
viable?
Yeah,
part?
where's the viable bit? Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes out there that actually
Yeah.
doesn't even reach that minimum viable
Yeah.
standard.
Yeah.
So you get the front screen and you log in. There's nothing else working. So
Yeah.
that's not.
It looks pretty. Come on.
It's a pretty. Well, some of them aren't even that pretty. So.
And there's another piece of DevOps that I think some people miss is that you can apply it to almost everything in your business. So I look at it again from an organizational change, elimination of waste. So you take a look at how you do your work. So you look at the teams, how the teams are organized, how communication happens.
Yep.
And what you're trying to do is eliminate waste everywhere in that whole cycle,
Yes.
from the definition of the requirements of the product all the way through to managing and operating it and deploying it. And you look at everything, how you prioritize new features. It's one thing to have a bunch of developers say, this is going to be really cool, let's put that out.
Right.
And nobody wants it.
Right, exactly.
So you want to push out stuff that has high impact to your clients,
Yeah.
and actually and you want to focus on the things that are easy to do. And if you focus that way, you actually start moving in the right direction quickly.
Well, and there's a multiplier effect on that, right? So if the technologist thinks it's really cool and there is no, end product that really is going to be useful to customers, right? They're going to work on that because it's cool. That's what they prefer to work on. They're not going to work on the thing that's boring and valuable,
Yeah.
right? So it's not only do they release something that really doesn't have a lot of purpose, but it's also they're not working on stuff that needs to be there, right? So it's not a good pattern.
But it's fun. I mean, like you said, eating your own dog food, if you want to call it
Yeah.
that, it's really been beneficial for us.
Yeah. So just before we go, David. How are you finding Knowledge 16 this year? How's it?
Well, so we had our first night on the floor last night, so it went from like,
Excellent.
7 till 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
We were really busy. I mean, I did 3.5 hours of demonstration of
Great.
the product.
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
great.
I was hoarse by the end of the night.
Excellent.
Carl and Cecile, Carl, my business partner, and Cecile works in our marketing team. They were just as busy as all.
Yeah, very
So,
active,
Great.
engaged.
Really,
That's
really.
what I thought.
And you know what?
Yeah.
The interesting thing is usually the first nights are the lightest because
Right.
people are still getting it. A lot of people
Yeah.
are only arriving today
Yes.
or late
Yeah.
last
Yeah, it
night.
was busy on the floor last
Yeah,
night.
it was
really
busy
busy on the floor.
Yeah.
The other thing I like about Knowledge, and kudos to the folks at ServiceNow, is that they're really allowing time for the vendors when you compare it to other shows.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of booth time, if you will, and that's what we pay to be here to do.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's
Absolutely.
excellent. I'm very
Great.
pleased with that.
Excellent. Well, thanks, David. It's always
Well,
a
thank you.
pleasure
Thank you,
chatting
David.
with
Yes,
chatting
it
with you. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Christy.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Charlie.
David.
Thank you.